From the makers of Final Fantasy Origin and Nioh comes a game that gives very much Ghost of Tsushima. We're of course talking about Rise of Rōnin, and we've played a preview. Previously known for the Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden series, Team Ninja have gone on to make Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins and Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, which were slightly disappointing compared to their previous Nioh series. So how does this game stack up? Even though Rise of Rōnin has similarities to the Nioh series, like its Souls-like-esque gameplay, it's definitely not as hard as one. There are still bonfires that replenish your health whilst respawning minor enemies, and when you die, you lose all your current experience points unless you go back and kill whatever killed you last time. Rise of Rōnin is less fantastical than Team Ninja's previous work, allowing you to take on enemies head-on or stalk them from the rooftops. Nothing too supernatural as of the preview. Although we're only allowed to talk about the first 2 or 3 hours of the game, we have to admit that at this stage, we're a little confused at the story. This is including how the main character counts as a Rōnin, Rōnin being masterless samurai. You start off as a part of an anti-shogunate faction called the Veiled Edge, and for reasons we're not clear on yet, are elite assassins who owe their expertise to being twins that work as a pair. The story is set further forward in time than usual for samurai games, and it's an interesting time period in gameplay terms, as it means that as well as the traditional paraphernalia of samurai and ninja, guns are also in wide use, despite what the movie The Last Samurai says. In actual fact, samurai were perfectly happy to use them from the start. Combat is very similar to Nioh, with an all-important stamina meter called Ki, which determines whether or not you can attack. This runs out and recharges a lot quicker than normal for this sort of game, with its primary goal being to stop you from button bashing. Come on, we all know who you are.
As that time marches forward.
Even if we are apart, still we are one.
Without hesitation, without remorse. If the drum drives the rhythm, then the river directs the flow.
Let's do this together.
You can block, counter, and dodge in the normal manner, as well as use secondary weapons ranging from a gun to shuriken. But what you're really trying to do is decrease your enemy's ki, and if you manage that, you get the opportunity to perform an instant killing blow, or at least stagger an enemy so you can use one of your special martial arts skills that take long to wind up. As in Nioh, certain stances are better than others, and often you have a friend in combat who you can switch to at any moment, either to attack from a different direction, or to take advantage of their weapons and stances. We're not allowed to talk about the human co-op at the moment, probably because the servers aren't on properly yet. Playing with a bot though, the setup seems to be the same, where you team up for a specific mission, complete with its own menu screen, and are let loose to complete the goals however you want. The 2 clearest ways to play the game are as an all-guns blazing samurai or a more subtle ninja type. What makes Rise of Rōnin interesting is that both elements are super viable options, with the ability to use a grappling hook as you use gadgets to distract or silently take down guards and creep around on rooftops as a ninja, or doing the exact opposite, which is also great, because the combat is a lot of fun and very satisfying, even if it's not necessarily a good idea to take on half a dozen people at once. Outside of team-up missions, the game takes place in a fairly Ubisoft-like open world, filled with side quests involving collecting resources and taking out specific enemies. Despite the obvious connections to Nioh, it's clearly Ghost of Tsushima that this is going to be compared to the most. In terms of graphics, Ghost of Tsushima is obviously superior, and Rise of Rōnin looks more like a mid-budget last generation game than it does a full-price PlayStation 5 exclusive. Although we will say the lighting's very good, especially around dusk and dawn, as it filters through trees and highlights characters in a very realistic and cinematic way. The game's not very original when it comes to structure though, so it really comes down to if you like your Ubisoft-style open-world games in the old Assassin's Creed fashion. Or like Ghost of Tsushima. Did we mention this game's like Ghost of Tsushima? No? Well, the game's like Ghost of Tsushima, okay? We don't think there's any major supernatural elements in Rise of Rōnin. But considering the first mission involves a sword battle with Commodore Perry, and the intervention of a super ninja in an Oni mask, it's clear that this game isn't going for documentary-style realism. That seems wise, and our real question is not so much whether the game will be good, but whether it will find mainstream success in the way that Ghost of Tsushima did, that's something you can never guess at, but from what we've seen so far, it certainly deserves just as much consideration and maybe actually be the better game.
How many mountains must you move to alter the river below?
Let us not forget the pain of Master Shoin and the countless others who have suffered. As the smoke rises, so shall we.